Welcome to Small Business, Big Network, the podcast for small business owners who want big results from their networking. I'm Liz Drury, a freelance voiceover artist who knows that if you're not working, then networking could help. Michael Hardy is a business doctor based in Nottinghamshire. When the first lockdown happened, Michael turned to his network to gather useful information to pass on to his clients. He also started the Consulting Room Lunch, as you'll hear in this conversation. Thank you very much for being my podcast guest today, Michael.
Hi Liz, it's great to be here.
Now, Michael, I know you as a business doctor, but have you always worked in the sort of business development and mentoring sector?
No, not at all. My career has taken a few twists and turns. Started out in catering, trained as a chef, and worked in hotels for the first part of my career before joining the brewery, Scottish Newcastle, where I had 14 fantastic years developing in a corporate world. And then was fortunate enough to have an opportunity for a management buyout with some colleagues to buy some brands that Scottish Newcastle wanted focus on, but with the usual challenges of big corporate businesses, they couldn't focus on with their own core brands. So had 4 years running my own business and growing some brands and learning what it was like to be a small business owner and the challenges that come with that. But they were great years, and we were fortunately successful. We did really well with those brands and eventually sold them to Heineken. And that allowed me to focus on other areas, and I got an opportunity to work with Salford University, chairing their CPD, their Continued Professional Development arm, which really opened my eyes to the skills and what I'd learnt over the years and how I could change them from not just in the drinks industry but to different sectors. So that was a real sort of eye-opener for me as much as anything else, and a great learning and back into an environment, an educational environment that I hadn't been since I was probably about 18, so that was quite an eye-opener as well.
Yeah, well, it sounds like you've got all the right ingredients there for what you're doing now. You're having run a small business yourself and then sort of being on the training side of things. At what point did you become a business doctor, and how did that come about?
It actually came about. I actually was lying in bed with a bad back for about 3 weeks at the start of 2018. And with a young family, suddenly realising that travelling all over the UK and Ireland, as I was doing in different roles, needed to change, needed to do something different. So basically, while I was in between Game of Thrones, which was my sort of programme of choice to try and pass the time away, found Business Doctors, and liked the name, liked what it stood for, and also gave me an opportunity to focus on the things I enjoy doing, which is the front of house, for want of a better term, the sort of working with people and not having to build my own website and do the things that, as we know as small business owners, we all have to do things that aren't necessarily our favourite areas. And they gave me the ability to focus on what I enjoyed doing, and they sort of took care of the things that I knew were important but not what I was skill set on or actually what I wanted to be focusing on.
Yeah.
So joined Business Doctors at the back end of 2018.
So tell me, what does a business doctor do?
A business doctor helps businesses build long-term strategy, and which sounds very corporate, but actually it's about having a plan, about having some focus on achieving the outputs that all that hard work of a small business owner deserves to get. So as a business owner, we focus so much on the day-to-day because we're very busy. We're very busy delivering the now. So it gives them an opportunity to stop, think, actually remember why they started doing what they're doing, have a plan as to what the end game actually means. And that can mean so many different things because we've all in business for so many different reasons. So actually, you've got to remember why you're doing this and then build a plan to achieve that. And then it's about working together. The planning in some ways isn't the easy bit, but it's the bit that gives us a roadmap And actually, it's the working with businesses once we've got a plan to keep them on the straight and narrow, which is almost the most enjoyable part of it. Seeing those light bulb moments of when they make a change and it actually impacts them positively really does is the area that, for me is such a powerful part of what I do.
Yeah.
And you're working with individuals, and it's not just about the business, because you're generally dealing with people who have families or partners, and therefore you're making a difference more than just to the business.
Yeah.
You're making a difference to the whole community that they work and live in. So
yeah. And so what kind of businesses do you help? Is it a particular sector? Are you in a particular region?
So regionally, I work in the Nottinghamshire area, so literally sort of the whole of Nottinghamshire. And sector-wise, it's a real broad range, because it's about the individual, and all the businesses I work with, they have got the skills of this specific sector. So if it's construction, I work with a construction company, and the guys who run that, they're the bricklayers, they're the experts of building the properties, if you like. But running a business is very different, and you need to have both skills. So
Yeah.
I've worked with daycare centres, I've worked with printers, I've worked with construction businesses. So it's a real breadth of businesses I work with. And I suppose I consider myself the generalist, the foundation for putting in the key elements that allows the business to thrive. Because all businesses I work with are really successful, but they've got to a glass ceiling. They've got to a place where they keep doing the same things, they get the same outcomes.
Yeah.
And because they're great at what they do, they're successful. But if they want more, or they want some more time, or they want some more growth, then having somebody who can help them put that foundation in, give them that plan, and then work with them to achieve it, really makes a difference.
Yeah.
So the sector isn't important. The area that I work with businesses is Nottinghamshire in the main, but it's about helping to have that foundation to take the success and the experience they've got and drive that into future growth, so that they get what they want out of their business.
Yeah.
And everybody's sort of end game is different.
Yeah.
That's the great thing, that when you sit down and ask people what they really want, the answers can be, all sorts of things. Some people talk about lifestyle, some people talk about selling to move abroad, some people just want a nice car. So it really changes for different people.
Yeah. So even though you deal with a wide variety of businesses, do you find there are some common things that business owners struggle with?
Yes. It's those things that we all have to do. I mean, I'm a small business owner myself, so you do the finance, you do the sales, you do the marketing, you have to create the plans, the operations, you have to deliver, and we're not all great at all of those things. So over time, you learn to sort of do them. But the reality is, as you grow and you get busier at maybe doing the front end, so if it's a printing firm, maybe the printing, or if it's the building firm, it's actually, when you move into hiring a gang of bricklayers, that changes from where you were just the builder, or you're changing the model. So obviously people is something that changes businesses hugely. So as soon as you start recruiting people, because your responsibility changes, you're not just paying your own mortgage, you're really paying all of the individuals' mortgages. So there becomes a responsibility in that area, and how you manage those, and how you ensure that they're getting what they need and you're getting what you need, because there's a two-way street on that. That's really important. Sales is something that again, you get to a point where if you want more sales, how do you create the business model to be able to deliver more sales? Because if you're a single person running a business, there's only so many hours a day.
Yeah.
If you create a team of people, you can get more. But how does that affect the quality? How do you ensure the processes are the same? And then we get to finance. Cash flow is such a challenge for every business. And as you grow, it gets harder.
Yeah.
You think, well, I'm selling more, so I should have more cash in the bank. Actually, generally most people are paying sooner than they should, and getting paid later than they should. So therefore, straight away, if you've got bigger contracts and bigger outgoings, your cash is under more pressure. So managing all of these elements when that's not your core skill, or not something you came into, who went into business, unless you're an accountant, to actually be a finance director. But it's such an important part. Who went into business to have KPIs and MSOPs and manage people? A lot of people started business to get away from that. They wanted to be their own boss. They didn't want all the hassle of people. And that's the other thing, that people go into business, because the great thing about running your own business is you've got nobody to answer to.
Yeah.
But the hard thing about running your own business is you've got nobody to answer to.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Sometimes you just need a bit of a guidance and somebody to go, are you sure that's the right thing to do, Liz? Are you really sure?
Yeah.
And you know the answer, but sometimes it's good to talk. It's good to have that engagement with people.
Yeah. Now, obviously, the last couple of years have been quite difficult for businesses. What kind of impact have you seen the pandemic have on people you've been working with?
I think the biggest challenge has been that. So the start point was obviously that we talked about people. Don't panic was a message we tried to get out straight away, because and that was as much about for myself as anybody else, because what do you do when something happens that you hadn't anticipated? And we get that. We used to get that in the past. So things happen that you don't expect. But where it hits everybody at the same time, and we've got closed down, we've all got to stay at home. How does that impact us? So I think people's first piece was, have I got enough money to survive at home? So it becomes a personal focus. And then it's, have I got any customers still left? So it was about that first probably month was about helping people to stop and think, have I got customers? What are my customers doing? Because although everybody was told to stop, there was a lot of people still trading. There was a lot of businesses still going on, just not face to face. So it changed how we did things, and actually getting people to speak to all their customers and understand their situation was a really big push for us, certainly in that early days. And then communicating about what they should do. There was a lot of grants, there was a lot of noise and not a lot of light, I suppose. And therefore, and this helped me as much as anybody else, was because it gave me something to focus on, was taking all the information we were hearing and trying to distill it into something that was simple, structured and effective for people, so they could then action it. And so I sort of very much started to communicate what was going on, what I was hearing, taking the information, obviously being involved in different groups, whether it's the business doctors or the Chamber of Commerce and the local council. I had lots of contacts in those, and I could sort of get to the nub of ask the questions and then share that. And that kept me focused, because the mental side of things for everybody was really challenging. And it also then gave people the answers and helped people in those early days. And that's where the consulting room really came from, to be perfectly honest.
I think that's a great example of how you were using your network to help your clients.
Yes.
So how important do you think that networking is for small businesses?
Well, I think for small businesses it's essential, because we talked before about having lots of skills and being excellent and experts at what you do. Having the ability to talk to people who are in similar situations, not necessarily in the same sector, but generally, it's lonely being a business owner. It's difficult because you're focused working in the business, so the time to get your head up and actually look to the future, to look at other things, to remember why you're doing what you're doing, becomes really difficult. So having a network of people who you can use, learn from, share, just have that space as well. And one of the great things about how we've changed over the last 2 years, in some respects, is the fact that networking isn't just face to face anymore. The amount of online, so your ability to touch points with people, not just in your local village or town or county, is massive. And I think that helps local businesses. And you know, we're so busy every day that getting the opportunity to speak to the people who can help, the amount of times that, you know, you see people who suddenly have got a connection through a networking that you've run or you've been part of, and then you hear that they've done business or they've shared with each other, and they've not actually done business together, but they've helped each other, is really powerful. And I think the more that small businesses understand that, and they find the time, because time is such a precious commodity. It's the one thing we spend without really worrying about it, and it's the one thing we can't raise more of. So therefore, from that perspective, actually understanding time and how you can use it to the max is a real powerful tool, and a real interesting conversation we generally have with business owners.
Yeah, and putting a cost to that time.
Yes, absolutely. There's a cost to everything, and the amount of people who don't cost their own time, so they'll say, well, it's me doing it, so it doesn't cost me anything. And you sort of go, well, hang on, you know, have you got a mortgage to pay? Have you got, you know, do you want to buy food? Do you want to go out to the cafe? Or, you know, well, yeah, well, you've got to have money to do that. Yeah, but that's okay. Well, it's not. We need to build, you know, everything you do. If you're not earning money by doing it, you're stopping yourself earning money.
Yeah.
So there's a cost to everything, and yes, it paying somebody to do it isn't always great, but actually, if that frees you up and you're paying them less than you would earn doing your job, then surely that's a better value for you, the business, and you're doing things you enjoy doing.
Yeah.
Whenever you're doing something you don't enjoy, and we'll all recognise this, and you know, I'm as bad as anybody. It takes you longer than somebody who enjoys it or who is good at it.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean you shouldn't understand the key elements of your business, but don't always have to do all the key elements of your business.
Yeah. So tell me about the consulting room lunch and how that network works.
So that's been going for virtually 2 years now, and that started right back. So it was just that element of getting people into a safe space, 40 minutes over lunchtime, sharing information, having an opportunity to talk. And I suppose as we developed, and we didn't know, so David and I, who sort of started it together, we didn't actually know how long this would last. You know, we sort of went, well, we'll put it on and see, and 2 years down the line it's still going, and we've evolved it into still only 40 minutes, and it's quite interesting how many people comment how that is really refreshing and actually powerful as a reason to come, because you know you're not going to run over. And just to be clear, the reason it's 40 minutes is that's how long Zoom gives you as a group before it cuts you off if you don't pay them for their service. And at the start I wasn't sure whether I needed to pay for Zoom or not, because I didn't know how long I was going to need it for. And actually, after about 3 months, I said to the group, well, should we pay for Zoom and start having, and everybody was, no, 40 minutes is fantastic.
Yeah.
Because we know that, and we literally get cut off, and Liz, you've been there where people are halfway through a sentence and it goes. I'm not sure you've been one of those people yet, but, you know, but it's great because it adds to the buzz, so everybody knows there's a ticking clock. There we go. Easy for me to say, but yeah. So it's one of those things where, so we've built it now to go. Let's just introduce each other. Let's just say hello, and what are you looking for from the group? And the really powerful thing on that is quite a lot of people just want one-to-ones, which we always sort of think is fantastic, because that's about growing your network, growing your understanding. Then we do a sharing of some information. So we share some information that we think is relevant in this week, and then we discuss it. And we usually get 20 to 25 minutes to discuss, you know, whether that's about finance, whether it's about sales, whether it's about something that's you know, relevant, and different people around the group have given us ideas and said, can we talk about this? And then we discuss it, and out of that, people take away as much or as little as they want. And it's, you know, it's free to attend. There's no you must attend. It's people drop in and drop out. So we get people coming, and then 2 months later they turn back up and go, really sorry, I've been really busy, but I'm back now. And I think that's the great thing. So it evolves. So you turn up every week. If you turned up every week, you would not see the same people.
No.
there's a, we tend to have about 12 to 14 people most weeks. But there's probably 3 or 4 that are there every week, and the rest are, and that's one of those is me, which is pretty important. But yeah, so and it's a great way of just sharing information, taking time away from your business. I think that's the other thing that try and get across to people. It's only 40 minutes, and if you can't stop from your head down trying to plough through your workload for 40 minutes in the day, then something's wrong, because actually it's that opportunity to just stop, refresh. Even if you just listen to us for 40 minutes and then go back, it's giving you a break that is so important. Yeah, absolutely.
So how do you see the future of networking? Where do you think it's going to go now?
Well, I think it will. I think online will continue to be a thing, but I think face-to-face will be a thing. And I think that the great thing is we've all learned now how to use Zoom. Some people better than others, and some people, don't want to. But actually, I think what you'll find is if it's local networking, I think that will become face-to-face. So in where I live, in Newark, the business club, we're back face-to-face, and we get 80 to 100 people on a monthly basis, once a month. And that's fantastic, and that's back to sort of, and has been the last couple of months. So, and I think that's about your local community and people coming together, very much close. But I think there will absolutely be the online networking, because that can broaden your network.
Yeah.
I know we've had a conversation, Liz, about, for yourself, meeting people all over the country because of that ability to do it. We've had people from Brighton to Manchester, Bristol, right the way up to Grimsby on the networking, on the consulting room, and we couldn't get that. I mean, I was joking to somebody chatting the other day, and I said we couldn't have a face-to-face consulting room lunch because actually, it's too broad a geography to make that happen.
Yeah.
And yet people still come, and we still get new people. Somebody phoned me the other day and, can we bring somebody along? Yeah, absolutely. It's an open forum. It's it's not a closed shop by any stretch of the imagination. It's there to help small business owners to build their knowledge, their insight, to stop them working in the business, to get them working on the business, just even if it's just for 40 minutes, and also to meet new people who they wouldn't have met under normal circumstances. And I know, as I say, the real buzz is sometimes when somebody's in the room and they say, oh yeah, I had a great one-to-one and we've now done business, or we've linked up and we've found a solution. Those things are priceless.
Yeah.
And that's what gives you the buzz on the days when you get those comments.
Yeah, absolutely. So if people want to find out more about either Business Doctors or come along to the consulting room lunch, how do they find you?
So my email is michael.hardy@businessdoctors.co.uk. I'm on Facebook, I'm on LinkedIn, and if we've also got a consulting group Facebook page which we've set up this year, just again to bring our community, to give people an area where they can be together. We've actually got over 200 members of that already, which is fantastic.
Brilliant.
But Michael Hardy on Facebook. Just don't worry about my dancing. I don't do as much as that as I used to do in lockdown. LinkedIn, I'm in LinkedIn, and then my email. So I'm all over those sort of usual social media areas. I've not made TikTok yet, but you never know.
There's time
Watch
for that.
Space. Yeah, absolutely.
Lovely. Well, thank you very much for being my guest, and there's lots of great information in there, and best of luck with the consulting room lunch going forward.
Brilliant, Liz. Delighted to be part of this. Thank you very much indeed.
Thanks for listening to Small Business, Big Network. If you found this podcast useful, please do rate, review and subscribe. And don't forget to share it with the rest of your network too.